where
Right.
we weren't thanked.
Right.
So it's and especially when another vet says, I said, come on, you did the same thing I do. I said, thank you for yours too. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Because it was an adventure. We all live by little mantras, and I have a couple of them. One of them is, do nothing, say nothing, be nothing. And the other one is go see do. and I have I traveled from California to Maine and from North Dakota to Texas and every place in between. I've been to every state except the Carolinas,
Okay.
North and South Carolina, and I'm not a hot weather person. That's one of the reasons we moved from St. Louis. St. Louis is hot.
Steamy, yeah.
Oh, geez, right there in the River Valley, that's why the corn grows so good there. But it's nice. It's nice to be able to, thank you for the recognition. I think all of us would do it again. We just had an open house at the Legion last night. Any vet in the area can come in and stop and say hi. And we had a couple of those guys, come in and say hi. And we had chili and hot dogs, and sit around and talk, and we like to razz each other a little bit. We're all there, like I was sitting there eating my chili and hot dogs, and one side of me I had another Air Force guy, and then over there was a Marine, and over here was a Navy guy, and we're just needling each other back and forth, and it's fun. It's fun. It's a great group of guys, because a lot of shared experiences. Right. Even though I was never in any direct combat. I can understand these guys that were, and we all know what boot camp was like, and moving and the hours you put in sometimes and the alerts you got to pull and out in the field or whatever, but I'm just thankful this great country of ours still has individuals like that because when you look at it, veterans only make up 7% of the population.
Really?
Yeah, that's not much.
No. Wow, and they've given so much.
Yeah, well, like I say, we're of that mindset.
Yeah.
That this is a good country and it needs our help and we're going to give it to it. So. I know some guys during Vietnam didn't like it. A real quick story: when I was when I went back after my college stint at Eastern Michigan, I had to go back to Fort Wayne again, and just because I had belonged to the Michigan Air National Guard when I was going to school. Mm-hmm. And then, they had to process me back again. And we were in a big, all right, all you Army guys line up here and count off 1, 2 all the way down the line. And 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and the Army guy steps up and says, all right, number 1, fall out, United States Army. And then as soon as he gets done, a Marine gunny sergeant steps up and says, all right, all you number 2s, congratulations, you're now Marines. I never seen grown men cry before, but some of these kids did. I don't want to be a Marine. Because this was 1968, and they knew where they were going. Right to Vietnam. Yeah. And they did make a couple exceptions because, no, we came in on the buddy program. Yes. And and it says, all right, you're both Marines. No, we came into the Army. Okay, yeah, I'm kidding you. All right, go ahead. Take your buddy and go over there and become, you're in the Army, and but it was great.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.